What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another NFL Nitro video. It is I, Jackafet9, joined by,
James Joe Jam.
yes sir, reviewing yet another crazy week in the NFL. A lot of upsets, a lot of close games, and without further ado, let's get into it.
Yes,
For the
sir.
second time. For the second time. Do you want to explain what may have just occurred?
We may or may not have just recorded half the video just to lose it because of my internet. My
He
internet was getting
spoke ill of
crashed.
Patrick Mahomes. He
I
spoke
did.
bad of Patrick
It was
Mahomes.
right as I was talking about Mahomes' poor play. And we got cooked. I got cooked.
Maybe use lighter terms than he's been bad this year.
Yeah, I'll make sure not to say that this time.
The first game of the week was a Thursday night affair between the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. The Eagles ended up coming away with the victory, 26 points to 18, in what was a fairly NFC East, matchup. It was a slugfest through and through. I mean, the first 3 quarters of the game were 10-6. Washington, they came out hot and they scored a touchdown, I believe, on their first drive. But except for that, they really couldn't get anything going. Jaden Daniels did throw for 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. A solid game from the rookie, but nothing too spectacular. Ryan Robinson did have 63 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. So an okay game from him. Terry McLaurin though, he was completely locked up. Only had 1 reception for 10 yards. Quinion Mitchell was obviously cooking. And he's been great as a rookie. And I mean, speaking of, an Eagle, I guess we can move on to the Eagles, who obviously they started, as I kind of said, they started the game off a bit rough, only 6 points through the first 3 quarters. But they really lit it up in the last quarter, scoring 3 touchdowns and or 20 points. Jalen Hurts had a decent game overall, 221 yards, 0 passing touchdowns and 0 picks, but did pick up a rushing touchdown alongside Saquon Barkley's 2 rushing touchdowns and his 146 yards. And I mean, he dominated for sure. An extremely good game. I mean, without him, they probably don't win. So he's obviously been probably their best piece this year. But I mean, yeah, overall it was a really good win for the Eagles, and yeah, I mean, a great win for them as they now extend their lead on the NFC East.
Next game, a big talking point in the last video, in a game where the Packers pull off a 1-point victory over the Chicago Bears. I feel like we both have to be pretty content with that ending. Carlos Santos got blocked on the game-winning field goal block by the Eagles. Back-to-back weeks has happened, which is crazy. But, my whole argument was just that the Bears had a chance and the Bears won. But you were talking about how you thought the Packers were going to win. Or the Bears didn't win, sorry.
And
but the Bears were like right on the brink and the Packers won. I feel like I don't think neither of us were wrong from last week. Caleb Williams for the Bears had a great game. Unfortunate that they lost with how good he looked. Over 300 total yards. 23 for 31. Just he's starting to get back into form. Starting to look like he looked a bit early in the season. He's struggled a bit recently, but hopefully he's turning it back around. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs for a rookie QB. For the Packers, Jordan Love did enough, 261 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. He was looking Christian Watson's way most of the game though. Watson ended up with 4 catches, 150 yards. I don't think he has more than 400 total yards on the season, so a game like that is crazy. But he was just balling. Big win for the Packers in such a dominant division in the NFC North. Obviously with 3 elite teams, it's crazy how good that division is, and Chicago's a good young team as well. but a big win for them as they try and take the division from the Lions and Vikings.
Alright. But you know, speaking of dominance in the NFC North, how about those Lions winning 52 points to 6 in what was just a dismantlement of the whole Jacksonville Jaguars organization, starting with those Jags. Yeah, obviously 6 points. Did not play very well. Mac Jones threw for 138 and a pick. That's all. I'm still not completely sure where Trevor Lawrence is. I would assume he's injured.
Yeah.
And it's clear to me that maybe this is it for Mac Jones. I mean, I still have a bit of hope for him, I guess, but I mean, yeah, he just isn't quite getting it done. But I mean, yeah, this whole Jacksonville team sucks, obviously. They had, like, I don't even think they had 40 yards rushing. That's really sad, obviously. And, you know, moving on from that, for the Lions, obviously they were cooking. Jared Goff threw 24 for 29, 412 yards and 4 touchdowns. Should win Offensive Player of the Week for the NFC for sure. Was absolutely cooking. And on the ground they were as dominant as ever. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery both combining for, well, over 100 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. Great game from them overall. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a really nice game, as well as Jameson Williams. They're cooking for sure, and yeah, they're just firing on all cylinders and showing why they are the most dominant team in the league. And you know, I said a couple weeks ago that they were. You said it was Baltimore. I think you're for sure agreeing with me that I think you could agree with me that the Lions are the most dominant team in the league, especially when they keep flexing their muscles like this. Great win for them for sure.
Even when they're up big, they don't stop. They keep looking for points.
That's true.
The next game, not too many major talking points out of this one. It was the Miami Dolphins beating the trash Las Vegas Raiders 34-19. Tua had a great game, probably his best game since returning from the concussion. Tua had 288 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, had an amazing game. Jonnu Smith as well, 6 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, best game of his season for sure. A great win for the Dolphins. They looked really good offensively. For the Raiders, it was quite the opposite. They did have Brock Bowers. He was the one bright spot on that team. He had 13 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown. It's pretty clear that he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the league within a season or two. But for the Raiders, aside from Brock Bowers, they couldn't get really anything going. There's only so much they're going to be able to do with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. But when you combine Gardner Minshew with probably the worst run game in the league, you're not going to win many games. They had 60 team rushing yards. 20 of those was Jacoby Myers on 1 attempt. Their run game they're clearly missing Josh Jacobs badly. It's rough, and I think it's a big reason why they're being held back. There's also just not a lot there right now for the Raiders, but they're going to be rebuilding very shortly. Good win for the Dolphins though, keeping their slim playoff chances alive. I'd love to see a miracle, run to the wild card. Just they go out and win these next couple games, but it's going to be quite tough and they'll be able to get all the way back.
But the next game was the LA Rams getting the job done over the Patriots in a surprisingly close game, 28 points to 22, in what was a really sound game for kind of both teams, starting with the losers. I mean, yeah, you can't really expect much from the Patriots with how much talent they have on their roster, but they did actually play pretty well. Drake May throwing for 282 yards 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Finally, you're doing something. Ramondre Stevenson had an alright game. You know what? We know what we're getting from him though. Kendrick Bourne actually had a decent game with 70 yards and a touchdown. So, you know, they've had some decent players for sure this year. I think that Drake May definitely helps them and adds an element to their offense, and he's performing pretty well especially for a rookie. I don't think that they can be very mad with how this game turned out against one of the best, you know, better offenses in the league, I guess, or a pretty decent team. And moving on to the Rams, why I say they're one of the best offenses is because they have Matthew Stafford, who threw for 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, all out, had a great game for sure. Their run game was cooking, had over 100 yards on the ground, but receiving, it was all their wide receiver duo. Puka Nacua had 7 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown. And Cooper Kupp had 6 receptions, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns, both absolutely cooking. And I mean, yeah, they're just such a dominant force when they're together, and the Rams are just so much better. But I mean, yeah, it was obviously a great win for them. A much needed win for them for sure. Like, they really needed it after last week, I believe, when they played the Dolphins.
Moving on, we have my Cleveland Browns doing what they do, getting destroyed by the New Orleans Saints, another bad team. The Saints winning 35-14. It was Taysom Hill, of all people, who was really cooking us. He had 18 passing yards, did throw a pick, but 138 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns on the ground, 50 yards receiving. He was doing what he does, destroying us. I don't know what to say. I mean, the Saints got a lot of pressure on Jameis. Our O-line is in some trouble. DeJuan Jones is out for the season. We're cooked. Normally,
Wow.
you know, the one thing you can rely on is our defense. This game, our defense got absolutely torched, and our offense was good. So, switching it up, I guess. The one bright spot, Jerry Jeudy, 6 catches, 142 yards, 1 TD. He's had a underrated season, you know. I haven't heard much about him, but he's been really solid for us. I haven't heard much about him from any of the media, at least. But Cam Ward, please save us. We need someone else. Oh. Good win for the Saints, I guess. Neither teams are playing for much. Really, both teams should be losing at this point. But I guess, you know,
Whatever makes you sleep at night.
there's no reason for the Browns to win.
Whatever makes you sleep at night.
We need a good pick. I don't want another season of
Whatever
Deshaun Watson or Jameson.
makes
Please.
you sleep at night. But moving on, it was an AFC North affair. It was an amazing game. Well, a great game from both teams. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers edging out the Baltimore Ravens 18 points to 16 in what was a really tough game offensively for both teams, as shown by Pittsburgh, who didn't even score a touchdown yet still ended up winning the game. I mean, I feel like we've mentioned a couple of times about like some of the good kicking performances, but this one might be up there this year, as Chris Boswell went 6 for 6 and scored all of Pittsburgh's 18 points. It was obviously a great game from him. I mean, the Steelers, their offense wasn't even that bad, in all fairness. They kept getting down the field, they just couldn't quite capitalize and score touchdowns. Russ did throw for 200 yards. Did throw a bad pick in the end zone though, but that's Russ, you know. I know best. That's what Russ is gonna do. But overall, it was still a great game. Yeah, great game overall from the Steelers. Their defense really lit it up. They were forcing fumbles and forcing bad mistakes from the Ravens. And yeah, it was a good performance from the Steelers. But with the Ravens, I mean, they did score more touchdowns, so I guess they're hyped about that. But they had more turnovers, and yeah, that Pittsburgh Steelers defense was locking them up. Lamar Jackson did throw for 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick though. Not the worst performance ever, but not really a great performance from someone that, you know, is what I think the MVP. It was definitely not an MVP. Definitely not an MVP like performance, that's for sure. But yeah, Derrick Henry was fine. Did have a fumble, but did make up with it. Did make up for it with a touchdown. So Isaiah likely had a good game, other than his fumble. 4 receptions for 75 yards. But yeah, there's a lot of learning to go with the Ravens. I think if the Ravens played obviously mistake-free, they would have won. And I mean, yeah, they were right there for sure. They just weren't quite good enough. But on their day, I think that they definitely could have beat Pittsburgh. But overall, great win for Pittsburgh, and they extend to 8-2 now.
The next game, though, was the Minnesota Vikings pulling it out against the Tennessee Titans, 23-13. They did what had to be done. I'll applaud Sam Darnold. He had 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, but more importantly, no interceptions. You know, I've been critical over their turnovers. They only turned the ball over once in this week, the Vikings. And I think that was a big help for them against this Titans team. The Vikings defense, on the other hand, was absolutely balling. Will Levis, or is balling this season. They had another good game against the Titans. Will Levis did play solidly. You can't be mad with his performance as of late. He finished with 295 yards, a TD, and an interception. But the Titans overall couldn't really muster much offense aside from a 98-yard touchdown pass to Nick Westbrook. Big win for the Vikings in that tough division. They've had some really easy games recently, but they're pulling the games out. They're not letting any of these slip, which is the important thing for the Vikings. Shout out Justin Jefferson as well for breaking the record for most receiving yards in the first 5 years of a player's career. So that's a cool moment for him.
But moving on, it was the Indianapolis Colts getting a thrilling win over the New York Jets, 28 points to 27, in what was a pretty good game overall, actually. Let's start with the losers. The Jets, it just gets from bad to worse every week, as their record indicates. A-Rod had a solid game, throwing for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I mean, Breece Hall had a decent game as well, had 78 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown as well. Overall, a pretty solid game from him, and I mean, their receiving weapons were decent at that. Breece Hall had 43 yards receiving and a touchdown. He actually had a really nice game. Devontae Adams was their leading receiver with 72 yards. So obviously that whole experiment has just not worked. But I mean, yeah, it just wasn't an amazing game from them. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Obviously, it was a terrible decision for them to get rid of Robert Saleh when they did, and they're paying for it for sure. It's just not a good decision, and it's really come back to bite them. I think that they could definitely be in the playoff race at least if he wasn't fired, but you know, their interim coach clearly isn't as good as what Robert Saleh was. But for the Colts side of the football, Anthony Richardson had a really nice game, probably his best game maybe of his career. Through 20 completions out of 30 attempts, 272 yards, 1 touchdown, but did add to that with 2 touchdowns on the ground. So overall, really good game. Had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's excellent. That's exactly what you want to see from a young quarterback like Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor had a decent game. But guys like Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, even Pittman, got in there, and they all had really sound games as well. Anthony Richardson did have 2 fumbles, I saw that, but overall, it was still a really good game from Richardson. You know, he's hearing the noise for sure. I was one of those who thought it was good that he got benched, and you know, maybe he's showing why. I think still that it was a good idea to bench him. Although, you know, and I did support the Joe Flacco benching, or Joe Flacco for him. Obviously, I did not expect Joe Flacco to get cooked like that. And yeah, it's good to see a young guy back cooking up though. Good win for the Colts. They stay in that playoff race.
The next game, a big game in the NFC West, in the tightest division in football. The Seahawks pull out the win 20-17 over San Francisco. It was a game where Geno Smith came up big time late in the game, an 80-yard TD drive. He had a 13-yard run for the touchdown with 12 seconds remaining for the win. He came up clutch when they needed him to in a big game for their season. Jackson Smith-Njigba continues his amazing form, had a great week last week, and this week he's here with 10 catches, 110 yards, just popping off yet again. I'm sure, hopefully, he can continue that because the start of his career has not been what they were hoping for when they drafted him. But he's been looking really good recently. For the Niners, Brock Purdy, 159 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. It's not what you expect from him. You know, early in the season, he was considered one of those top-end quarterbacks, damn near elite quarterbacks, and he is not playing like it this season. It's been rough for the 49ers. And they're 5-5 and only like a game or two back. But they might be in some trouble. They have a really tough schedule upcoming. It's going to be tough for them though with their schedule remaining. They are a great team, but they really have to turn it on now if they want to be playing football in January. Big win for the Seahawks, obviously, and that they're keeping in the hunt for that division lead.
Yes sir, yes sir. But moving on from that, it was my Denver Broncos doing what they do best, getting a dominant win over the Atlanta Falcons and completing the sweep on the NFC South. We did beat them 38 points to 6 in what was a really good game on both sides of the football for us, obviously. But starting with the Falcons, and I mean, offensively, they just were not there. It didn't feel like they were there at all. Kirk Cousins threw for 173 yards and a pick. No touchdowns for the offense at all. So, yeah, it was obviously not a great showing. Bijan only had 35 yards on 12 attempts, so not very great from him. Really, the only bright spot for the whole game on offense was Drake London having 61 yards on only 3 receptions. So he definitely did a decent job, but nowhere near enough to even impact the game really. And defensively, they were just really bad. I believe they are the worst when it comes to, they did have a sack. Matthew Judon did have a sack, but I believe they are the worst in the league at pressure rate. And it showed. They were, for the most part, they were giving Bo Nix all day in the pocket, and he made them pay for it. And I mean, they are like the easiest. They might be the easiest defense to score on this year. I mean, they have great corners, but yeah. And I'm pretty sure they have the lowest blitz rate as well, in the league. So it was not good for them at all. I mean, moving on to the Broncos side of the ball, as I mentioned, Bo Nix was cooking, and oh boy was he cooking. 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. An amazing game from him, only 5 incompletions. What a great game for the rookie. You know, a lot of talk around Jaden Daniels being running away with the Rookie of the Year, like 10 weeks into the season, you know. It's week 11 now, and Bo Nix is showing why he might be the Rookie of the Year. It was a really sound game on the ground as well. We had nearly 100 yards rushing. Javonte Williams had a really nice touchdown. where the whole team picked him up and drove him into the end zone, and just showing that this team was ready to play team football. Cortland Sutton had 70 yards receiving, really nice game from him. Marvin Mims and Lil Jordan Humphrey also had touchdowns. With Marvin Mims, I really liked the way that we were using him out there. He was cooking for sure. And yeah, overall, really great signs for the future of the Broncos. And I mean, yeah, all I gotta say is watch out, because we've well and truly arrived. We've just gotta keep it up, and I do think we can for sure be a playoff team.
The next game, both of our game of the weeks last week in predictions, and it lived up to the hype, as the Bills, as we both predicted, pulling off the win, giving the Chiefs their first loss, 30-21, thanks to some Josh Allen heroics. I've said he's going to be the MVP since the start of the year. I still stand on that, and I think this game helps his case. He had over 300 total yards, did have an interception, but had 2 touchdowns, 1 in the air, and 1 clutch rushing touchdown. Late in the game, you know, they were up 2, 4th and 2. Instead of kicking it, they decided they weren't going to let the Chiefs have a chance to just cheat their way to another win. They went for it. Josh Allen, 26-yard touchdown run. Big time play. He came up clutch. And that was big in the Bills giving the Chiefs their first loss. James Cook didn't have the most yards, but did also put in 2 touchdowns on the ground. For the Chiefs, Mahomes didn't look great. 2 interceptions. I'll refrain from going too much deeper into how bad he played so that we can give you guys this episode. But not perfect for him at all. I'm sure he's probably going to be turning it around when we get closer to the playoffs, because the Chiefs that's just what he does. They're still going to be, you know, a real contender for the Super Bowl. Kelsey also was struggling. 2 catches, 8 yards. Had a great week last week, but couldn't get it going this week. Chiefs unable to win this still. This maybe one of the best player rivalries in the league right now. Not really because the players hate each other, but just the epic performances, epic games we get every time they play. A big win for the Bills, though. And Bills also have a really good chance at winning the AFC.
But moving on, it was Sunday Night Football between the LA Chargers and the Bengals. No, but it was a really good game between both teams. Starting with the Chargers, they started off red hot. They were absolutely cooking. Justin Herbert was on fire in that first half. He could not stop making great throw after great throw. It felt like he was making every right read, every right play, no matter what. Did finish with 297 yards, 2 touchdowns. Overall, just a really good start to the game by him. Yeah, on the ground, he was actually their leading rusher. But J.K. Dobbins also had a great game, 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. You'll take that for sure. Lad McConkey had 123 yards. Will Disley was randomly cooking as well. Had 80 yards and a touchdown. He's becoming actually quite a decent tight end for them. And yeah, overall it was a really good sound performance. They also had a game-winning drive where J.K. Dobbins did score the touchdown. But moving on to the Bengals, we need to have some real talk about Joe Burrow leaving this Bengals team, because they're clearly failing him after he threw for 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, and still lost. I believe this is like the 3rd or 4th time in a row where he's put up an amazing performance like this and lost this year. It's just been really tough for them. But on the ground, Chase Brown had a really nice game. Had 86 yards on the ground. T. Higgins had a really good game as well, obviously. 148 yards and a tutty. But Jamar Chase had a sound game, had 2 touchdowns to his name. A really nice game from them.
The next game, Battle of Texas. The Texans destroyed the Cowboys. We were expecting it. Joe Mixon had 109 yards on just 20 carries for 3 touchdowns.
Dog.
Having a great year. Maybe the Bengals would be better if they had tried to keep him. Yeah, he's absolutely cooking. Not saying much though when it's against the Cowboys, to be fair. Stroud,
Their defense is-
257, a pick. They just suck in general. But Stroud was not great. He's not been playing nearly as well this year, but it is what it is. Hopefully he can turn it around before the playoffs. Cooper Rush had 354 yards, a touchdown, a pick. They were throwing it a lot, to be fair, because they were down a lot. Especially in the second half, the Texans outscored the Cowboys 17-0 in that second half. Just ran over them in the end. I guess it's a good win for the Texans, but the game didn't have much appeal, especially it being Monday Night Football. Just terrible. The Cowboys it's rough. Their season's done. I guess we should talk about though, real quickly though, how both of us did in the predictions. I had maybe my worst outing, 7-7, 500 record,
and
not
I had
great.
my best.
Yeah, you went 12-2, and now you beat me by 5 games this week. And now for like the first time all season, you lead me in the overall predictions out of nowhere. You cooked. I really thought the Ravens were gonna win. I was surprised when you picked the Steelers, but you were right about that. Bears game came out at 1 point, but you ran away with that one. Still, the Eagles and Commanders was a 1-score game. You predicted right again. You cooked this week, but watch out. I will be trying to take my title back, take first place back. I will point out as well, both of our locks were the Lions. The Lions obviously won by 46, so that was pretty cool, I guess. Let us know down below how you guys did for the week. Yeah, I want to see it, please. Time for the Week 12 predictions. Starting off with my favorite team, my Cleveland Browns, at home against the Steelers. Unfortunately, I'm going to be picking the Steelers here. I will say maybe there's a chance that this is a trap game for the Steelers, but their defense has been so good this year. And the week the Browns defense just had, I'm not sure that we have much of a chance in this game, to be honest. I feel like the Steelers might just run over us. They've looked really good, and we're playing terribly. I think for obvious reasons, I'm going to take the Steelers here.
Fair enough. Cleveland, this is for you, is what Cam Ward is going to be saying in 10 years when he finally wins you guys a playoff game. But first to do that, you have to lose. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I think is going to happen this week. I think that the Browns are going to lose to the Steelers as well. I mean, it is in Cleveland, but yeah, the Steelers, they're no joke. And yeah, the Browns, in case you didn't really know, it's not very well known, they kind of suck. So, but moving on to what is a really interesting game, obviously. No, it's the Chiefs, the now loser Chiefs, taking on the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. And I'm gonna be real with you, I don't care how many times the Chiefs lose, they're just a million times better than the Panthers. The Panthers, I love Bryce Young, I love when he is happy and giddy and excited about winning. I just don't think he can match it with the likes of Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, it would be the most shocking thing ever if the Panthers managed to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I obviously agree. And I'm actually going to make an audible from what I was going to have. But this game is going to be my lock of the week. Chiefs coming off an L. I think they'll be able to pull out a game. The Chiefs have been in so many one-score games, so that maybe saying lock of the week's a bit crazy. But they got Patrick Mahomes. They have
It's the
Andy
Panthers.
Reid, and it's the Panthers. The Panthers have been solid recently.
They have. Not solid. Who have they played? The Giants and the Saints. Let's
That's
relax
fair.
a little.
Coming off a loss, I don't think they're going to make it too straight. The next game, a tough game. I know you may disagree, but the Bears are a pretty good team. So Vikings in Chicago, divisional matchup. I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings here. Their defense is just gonna make it so tough on Caleb Williams. And as long as they can just protect the ball themselves, I think they're gonna pretty comfortably be able to pull this one out. Could obviously go either way. Is in Chicago, but yeah, I have to trust that defense. In my opinion, the best defense in the league to be able to bottle up a rookie quarterback.
That's fair enough. I will agree with you. You know, I don't think it's shocking that I'm agreeing with you. But the Vikings have been great. To the Bears' credit, you know, I've been implying that they've been a pretty decent team all year. As a joke. They're alright though. They're okay. They started the year off well, but they are definitely falling off a cliff. And mainly because Caleb Williams has fallen off a cliff. He hasn't thrown a touchdown in like 3 weeks. And to be honest, I could see that not changing. Now he has to play the toughest defense. And I mean, the Vikings haven't been flashy really. They haven't been putting up many points. They've just been finding ways to get it done for sure though. And I think that they can do that again, you know. To their credit, you know, I'm not going to hate on them as much as I did last week. I do think that they make it a tough game. Maybe that nearly win, if it wasn't for a blocked field goal, they would have won. Has maybe changed my opinion on them slightly.
That's all I wanted to know.
I mean, there was still no way they were losing to
It was if that kick went in, oh my gosh, I would be just talking so much trash right now today.
It was never in doubt.
You're lucky. You're for real.
I mean,
You're so lucky that the Packers pulled it out.
Keep talking. But moving on, it is an AFC South matchup between the Texans and the Titans. And you know, I've seen enough. This is gonna be my lock of the week. I don't think that's very, you know, bad to say, or that's very outlandish. The Titans are just a rebuilding team with not much talent, and the Texans are just a better team. They had a dominant win for sure, and so I think that they're gonna win again.
I bet. Well, obviously I'm taking the Texans here. Stroud hasn't looked great, but they got a nice offense, a nice defense, and the Titans just they're trying to get that number 1 pick. Let's be real. They want probably a Travis Hunter, depending on how much they believe in Will Levis, a Travis Hunter, a McMillan, or maybe they'll go with one of their quarterbacks. But we'll have to wait and see. But they're rebooting for a reason, and they're in those conversations for a reason. They're just not a very good team, and the Texans are probably gonna comfortably win the division. So, but the next game is the dominant Detroit Lions going into Indianapolis to play the Colts. I'm taking the Lions here pretty comfortably. The Lions have just been absolutely dominant week after week, especially recently. They're turning it up. And I'd say they're going to have a big win against the Colts. Richardson has been playing well. Or did just have a great game. But I don't think he's going to be able to do too much against that Lions team. Their offense is really tough to stop as well. Jared Goff has been playing some of the best ball of his career. So, give me Lions.
Yeah, I don't think that there's too much to say about this. The Colts definitely had an improved performance for sure, and will take a great deal of confidence out of that last game. But yeah, the Lions are a different beast. You know, I'm saying it all the time now. They are the best team in the league.
It's good now.
But yeah, give me the Lions because they're good.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes, Pats.
The next game is an AFC East affair between the Pats and the Dolphins. A couple divisional games this week, whatever. And I'm gonna go the Dolphins. I mean, the Pats, they've definitely looked a lot better under Drake May, but I just still don't see them having nearly enough talent to compete with Tua's Dolphins. And for that reason, give me the Dolphins, and especially since it's in Miami. I don't think Tua can mess this one up, hopefully. And yeah, they're definitely trying to get back into that playoff push and that playoff race.
Yeah, same. 4-6 as their record is quite deceiving, but they've looked really good. They've looked so much better under Tua. Tua's been playing really well.
Right.
And I'd assume that continues, and so I'd say they're pretty comfortably going to be able to pull this one out. Patriots have been making these games close recently, though. So divisional game, you never know what could happen. But the next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New York Giants. Tommy DeVito starting. I'm taking the Bucs though. Daniel Jones or not, the Giants just aren't good this year. Buccaneers should be able to pull this one out pretty comfortably. Baker Mayfield will have a good game, I'd reckon. And yeah, I don't think the Giants are going to be able to. Their offense is going to be able to do much in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see how Tommy DeVito goes. Not sure why he's starting over Drew Lock, who's worth 3 first-round picks.
Sucks.
But but yeah, I'm not completely sure, but Mike Evans could be back, so that's obviously a massive plus for the Bucs. And yeah, I mean the Giants, their season just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and now their franchise guy is gone, and give me the Buccaneers. But moving on, it's another rivalry game between the Cowboys and the Washington Commanders in Washington, and I do think that the Commanders can get it done. They're coming off of a couple not great weeks for them, for sure. I mean, the Cowboys, we know what threat they are, but they've just been a shell of themselves, I suppose. This whole season they really have been. And the Commanders have just been really good. So give me the Commanders to beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this was gonna be my lock of the week before I switched to Chiefs. I am just a little nervous because of the divisional matchup and all. But obviously I'm taking Washington here. Dallas is just playing, they're in a rough spot right now, and they're not going to win many games the rest of the season. I also said that I was never going to pick the Cowboys again this season, and I'm sticking with that. So, and then the next game is Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos going into Las Vegas to play Gardner Minshew and the Las Vegas Raiders. What a duel. Give me the Broncos though. They've been playing well, and the Raiders have been absolutely terrible. I'm not sure how much the Raiders' offense is going to be able to generate. Broncos do have a really good D. They're going to be king and on the pass game. I'm not sure the Raiders are going to be able to get too much going.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. You know, I know it sounds so bad, but I always get it's a divisional matchup. Things happen. The Raiders have always been a team, no matter what, that just happen to beat us, and we've never beaten them while they've been in Las Vegas. They've only been in a couple years, but we've played them, you know, tied for like the most, you know, with the other two teams in the division, and we've never beat them in Las Vegas. So I don't know, it's interesting, I guess, and I'm hoping we can change that, and I definitely do think we can. And so yeah, give me the Broncos. But moving on, it is effort. It is my it is my game of the week. It is the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay Packers, and I have Green Bay taking this one out. They've just been better. It's in Lambeau as well. The 49ers, they're kind of like the Cowboys, I feel like, a bit, where they've just been a shell of themselves, but we kind of know what they can be. But yeah, they've just been not great at all, losing games that they really shouldn't have. I mean, they got knighted by Geno Smith last week. All of their fans are crying on Twitter. It's not good for them, and I see that misery continuing. In Green Bay, they've been playing at a decent level for sure. Not quite the Super Bowl level that I predicted them as, but I know that they can definitely elevate to that level. And I think a win over the 49ers will give them great confidence for sure. I do expect this one to be a good one.
Give me the Packers as well. Yeah, give me the Packers. It being in at Lambeau. Packers have been alright. I'm not loving Jordan Love's play as of recently, but the Niners have been really disappointing. And I feel like this is probably a game that they're not going to be able to pull out. Green Bay just are really talented, and I think they're just playing better football at the moment still. So, and then the next game is my game of the week. The Arizona Cardinals in Seattle to play the division rival Seattle Seahawks. What could be a really good game, I reckon. I'm going to take the Cardinals. So Kyler Murray's last game before the bye was incredible. And the Cardinals have really turned it up recently. They started pretty poor, but they're just starting to dominate. I think the bye will be nothing but beneficial for them. Seattle are coming off a good win, so that's why this is such a tough game to predict and such a good game.
You know, I just knew that this was going to be your game of the week. I just had a feeling, and I don't blame you, to be honest. But I am going to go different. I'm going to pick Seattle. You know, they proved a lot, I think, last week. Obviously another divisional matchup, especially since it's in Seattle. You know, the Cardinals, I feel like they've been getting lucky at times. No, I'm not trying to take away from what they've been doing. They've been excellent for sure. But I do see Seattle managing to win. I think that they've still got the talent, and they've also got the experience that I just don't think Arizona has. You know, at the back end of the season, I think that Arizona can kind of get caught in the headlights at times. That's why I feel like that they're that type of team that'll see that they're 6-4 and be like, okay, bet we're gonna be making the playoffs soon, but they've got to do the work to make the playoffs, and I see Seattle being able to overcome them. But moving on, it is the Eagles taking on the Rams, and this is actually kind of a tough one, considering the Rams are kind of in desperation mode at this point, I would say. But I am going to go with the Eagles. They've just been such a great team for weeks, and they've been turning it up for sure. It feels like at times they've gone to a different level, playing conservative, but it works for them a lot. You know, their defense is just such a grinding defense. It'll grind down the Rams.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Philadelphia here. I think it'll be tough though for them. Two elite receivers. Quinion Mitchell has been balling, but when he can't defend both Puka and Cooper Kupp at the same time, you know. But I think overall Saquon's going to be too much for the Rams to handle. Saquon, as he might be winning Offensive Player of the Year. We didn't even mention it in our short, but he's been amazing this year. The next game is... Oh, that was Sunday Night Football. The final game of the week, Monday Night Football, is the Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers actually have a better record than the Ravens. However, I'm going to have to go with Baltimore here. They're just such a good team. I know it wasn't all too amazing against the Steelers, but I trust Lamar, I trust Derrick Henry, I trust them to write this year. And they have a much better game offensively against the Chargers. Chargers offense has also been playing well, but I think the Ravens will be able to hold them just enough to pull this game out.
I'm gonna agree with you. You know, I feel like the Ravens, they don't really get it wrong twice. You know, they're a team that they learn from their mistakes quickly, and I think that they can do that. The Chargers, they did just have a great offensive game, but you gotta think they're also playing the Bengals, so let's relax a little bit here. Yeah, the Bengals aren't exactly the greatest defensive-wise, but I see the Ravens winning. The notable teams on the bye are the Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jags, Saints, and Jets, all on the bye this week, so quite a lot of teams on that bye. some teams that really need it. Other teams that probably wish that they didn't have it.
Quick shout out. You know, it seems like a weekly shout out at this point to the Cleveland Cavaliers, still undefeated, 15-0. Shout out Darius Garland. Shout out Donovan Mitchell. We play the Boston Celtics tomorrow. I'm quite nervous, but should be a good game.
Shout out Nikola Jokic. He's quite clearly the MVP at this point. The Nuggets are a G League team without him, so yeah. Nikola Jokic is by far the MVP.
Alright, that's the end of the video, guys. Another classic NFL Nitro video. Thanks for watching. Excited for some of these games. Some crazy divisional matchups upcoming. Let us know down below. Anything you agree with, disagree with, of course. And is there anything you'd like to say?
Comment marbles if you made it this far in the video.
Yeah, do that. Like, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Next week. Around the same time. Better see you there. Goodbye.
Oh, wait. He has voodoo magic.
Yeah.
Did something not click? He's the voodoo man himself.
I've been banned for 4 minutes. For what?
What? Wait, what? That was a Kazi's, right?
Yes. Oh, I think it's because I left before a minute and a half. Oh my god. No, I'm actually banned for 5. We're playing a private match 1v1 game to talk.
Hold on, I just have to say, if their name is the Three Musketeers, why are there only 2 of them?
All the ones missing.
Damn, why'd you kill him?
His teammate's talking trash about him.
That's true, yeah.
His teammate
I saw that, yeah. Copy.
saw that.
I saw him okay him when he missed a shot, like this is in Kazi's.
Well, he said, teammate, you're AFK, but also terrible, so it doesn't matter. So it's chill.
That's crazy. You know, I'm just gonna say it here. Because I'm sick of waiting. But, yeah, I saw something talking about how, Joe Burrow's gonna lead the league in passing with and his team sucks. And compared it to Deshaun Watson, who led the league in passing while his team sucked. So, you know, if Joe Burrow ends up being the next, woman abuser, don't be surprised.
What? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson never contended for a Super Bowl like Bengals did though.
That's true. He would have if they didn't blow that lead to the Chiefs.
What the heck?
Yeah, that's the whole point, is that he's gonna become the next Deshaun Diddy.
Maybe on Twitter.
It's unfortunate. Maybe.
What game's the Browns game after?
the Browns game.
Oh my gosh,
game.
why are they...
Thursday Night
Oh
Football.
no. I forgot about that.
Bro, this week's gonna suck.
I know.
Oh my god.
Now, give me the Browns. Oh wait, this game's up.
Bro.
It's over!
No! It's sold! You got it my
I would have made it! I didn't even touch you! Oh, you didn't, I didn't touch you.
You still affected me. All the time now, they are the best team in the league. Shut up! Also, we'd just like to quickly mention, if you ever pull that crap again with me, I'm walking, alright?
What?
Off the kickoff, you do it, and then you get the mid boost, and while I'm getting back for back boost, even though you have mid boost, you got
we should get
the
the
other
better
back
player.
boost, the corner
The boost.
You stole 200 boosts,
And I used it well. I'm the
You
MVP.
did not do anything. You didn't do anything. You just sat there in goals. You did
worked.
nothing. Shut up. I don't care. I'm walking if you do it again. For sure.
What I say?
Oh my.